Hi, everybody. Good evening and welcome to our Monday live show. Thank you so much for tuning in. This one, just for lols, we're going to stream it to YouTube. Hello, YouTube, you bunch of tyrants. Facebook, Rumble, Twitter, Getter, blah, 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 blah. So wherever you are, anywhere, wherever you're watching us tonight, thank you so much for being here. Hi, Chris, Leslie, see you all over there as well. Thanks for coming in and joining in the fun and games. So we've got a lot. Sorry for the delay, by the way. I think it was climate change possibly caused the problem, or it might have been Putin because he causes so many problems, doesn't he? Or maybe it was the Princess of Wales. Who knows? But we might get to that. So listen, before we get our special guest on with us, can we just play our ad from our sponsors, our good friend Sarah Smith over at Quantum Hypno Play.
Quantum Hypno is a transformative approach that connects with the superconscious through the power of hypnosis. I take the time to get to know you and create a relaxed setting where you can share your life story. There's no rush or time pressure involved. During the hypnosis session, you'll experience a natural and profound connection with the superconscious, accessing healing, wisdom, and the answers that you've been seeking throughout your life. Envision the ability to travel through time and space, recovering lost knowledge and exploring the universe. This life-changing work has already helped thousands of people dealing with addictions, trauma, or a sense of being lost, enabling them to move forward in the right direction. I've worked with people from all walks of life, so what are you waiting for?
There you go. Arr! The lion always gets me, actually. So I have to have words with Sarah about that. So anyway, Quantum Hypno, do check them out. As I say, here, for those of us in the alternative media, we need to find support, and she's very kind to sponsor yours truly. So anyway, that being said, as I say, we do try to bring you all kinds of different voices and different folks, and I'm particularly pleased to have this lady who's about to come on, well, she's very, I think, a unique individual. So her name is Elizabeth Barker. Bring her on now, please. Hi, Liz.
Hi.
Hiya. Thanks so much for coming on and spending an hour with us here in the Madhouse, which we do on a Monday night. And I'll tell you, I'm very pleased that for you to come on. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show, Betty, is that you have a very positive, inspirational approach on the social media, which is unusual because normally it's a hellscape of depression and negativity, and I suppose I contribute to some of that. So I want to chat to you about that, and then there's other stuff I want to chat to you about. But I'll tell you, just to start with, just off the top of my head, do you ever think sometimes there's these stories that come along and you're not expecting them, and they're weird, and then they get weirder? And one of these for me was, I did mention her in passing there. Catherine, Princess of Wales, and the strange issue of these photos, because as you know, she stuck out a photo. There was a photo taken of her by the paparazzi, not looking like herself in the car, maybe a wee bit sort of face swollen and whatnot. And that was the other day, and that raised eyebrows, as you know. And then she put out a picture yesterday on Mother and Sunday, and well, it didn't go well, did it? It's been dropped by every news agency in itself, which is a laugh. And secondly, she said, yeah, I doctored it. Tell me, what do you make of that, Betty?
Well, I think, do we ever really know what we're shown that comes in the media, whether it is real or not real? You know, so many things can be doctored nowadays, can't they? I didn't, in all honesty, I didn't personally pay much attention to it. But obviously with social media, news feeds, you can't escape it.
Yeah.
It's been predominantly what I've seen most of 24 hours, but I'm not shocked or surprised about it possibly being doctored. I think it's kind of sent people, especially on social media, into a massive conspiracy storm around the royal family at the moment. And it's making people really question what's going on. What is going on? Because there hasn't been many public, they haven't been out working in public for some time. And obviously, like you said, there was the comparison with the photo of her in the car the other day. So, but I mean, I think when they do photo shoots, we have to kind of, playing devil's advocate a little bit here, we have to understand that things are edited and airbrushed and made to look much better than they are. So there is a possibility of that. But the fact the news agencies and even media have confirmed that it was doctored is now, it's just made everybody go crazy.
Well, the thing that got me is I completely agree with you. I mean, I imagine half the stuff we see is probably doctored realistically, but and that's okay. But for me, the weird thing is in this case that she then came out today and she put her hand up and said, yeah, I doctored it. And I'm thinking, hang on, this is the royal family. This is going out to global media. I'm not sure it's just like you and me sticking up a picture, you know, and putting some filter on it. I would have thought it was a wee bit more than that. What do you think?
That's the bit that surprised me, because normally they kind of, that silence is golden with the royal family. They don't really respond to, you know, accusations or, you know, suspicions of a conspiracy, whatever. They normally kind of quietly get on with what they're doing and they don't really, you know, respond. So the fact that she came out and actually said she did it herself has caused even more. It's kind of adding fuel to the fire, isn't it?
It is. You know, it's a dumpster fire. And in some, and as you say, I'm always wary of these stories that you don't go down a rabbit hole you don't need to go down. And I'm also conscious that I think a lot of it can be distractions as well from much more important issue. I mean,
well, to be honest, that was my view on it.
Yeah.
So everybody's reacting to it. It's almost like a look over here.
Yes.
I don't want you to look over here.
Yeah. Well, I know. I mean, there's so many more important things, like the Oscars. Oh no, hang on a second. No, not like the Oscars. No, we don't really into satanic ceremonies here on this channel. But yeah, so look. That being said, anyway, I had to get it out of the way because, as you say, it's totally bloody dominated the news agenda. And if you don't talk about it, you sort of, well, I'm avoiding something here. But anyway, listen, you're obviously on X/Twitter as California Frizz, a tribute to your hairstyle, obviously.
Yeah,
and
I'm original.
I gotta say, I you know, as I said again, I enjoy your stuff because it's not like most other stuff. You know, there's kind of lots of inspirational stuff, lots of, I just scroll down there, Jed, lots of touching stuff as well. Some of it, like for example, you see that one there you put up, that guy, I've actually got his album.
He was
Israel, and he did the great version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and I'm aware of that because I remember when I visited Hawaii, and now we're getting Frank Zappa. Keep it at our friend. Just bag up to him. Yeah, this guy. That's a lovely story that there. So that's what I like about you, Betty. The stories are kind of positive, inspirational.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I like to do that is because it's obviously it's my social media profiles, personal to me, and I think that our profiles are, you know, they're always, whatever we put up, we're leaving a trail. So I just kind of like to leave a little piece of me, you know, for years to come when I look back when I'm an old lady. Or when I'm no longer here. That's my trail, and I didn't want it to be all doom and gloom. And I also find that when I go on and see the news feed and the timeline, there is so much negativity and so much hate.
Yeah.
And I find I can be scrolling an hour. I mean, we're it because we spend so much time on our phones and on social media. It's a massive thing in our lives now, unless you have never signed up to it. You know, it's something all of us do every day. They've got us with the device. devices. They know that the smartphone, most people have them. We've got all the apps on there. You know, it's supposed to be for our convenience, but I also think that it has a detrimental effect on our productivity in the day. It has a detrimental effect on our mental health. And I just feel like, personally speaking, when I spend 30 minutes scrolling or an hour scrolling sometimes, you don't even realise the time is going by. And so much doom and gloom. And so I feel like I don't want to add to that. So my little giving or contribution to social media, I like to mix it up. And when I find a story that I find uplifting or inspirational and it makes me feel good, I want to share that, because if it makes one person that sees it, think, oh, yeah. And I have a lot of people contact me, which I want to thank as well. They DM me or they comment on my posts and say, you know, thank you very much for this story. It's I really needed to see that today, or it's been really uplifting. So I can see the effect, the positive effect it has. And it does a little bit of research. I thought, I wonder if I put what I like on there, if actually it will actually have a positive effect on somebody else, or if people will like it. I'll see. And in actual fact, most of the positive or inspirational stories that I've posted have actually, I get the most likes and comments on.
Yeah, I can well understand that. And I actually think, Betty, the way the algorithm works, what I find is if I'm, say, going through your feed and I'm picking up that stuff, obviously the algorithm works out that I'm doing that. So I then get directed to other, you know, similarly positive type accounts.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's the usual run of the mill, you know, just the X hellscape, then you get wrapped up in that. You get into the doom scrolling and whatnot, and I think that's bad for at whatever age you are. It's not good for you.
We're not supposed to be exposed to as much information and as much negativity as we are.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. We're doing it to ourselves, because we've all got trapped into the smart devices, the world of the smart device, and you know that's what's happened. We've evolved as a species, and technology's evolved. So it's inevitable that we were going to, you know, be in the situation we're all in now. But I actually learned about the algorithms during the pandemic. So I wasn't, although I've had an account on Twitter or X since I think 2011, I wasn't actually active. I didn't use it. I've only been active on there for the past 2 years, I think. So, I was using predominantly Facebook, and I was sharing a lot of the analysis prints for the vaccines. I was sharing a lot of information with regards to the legislation, and trying to make people be aware of what was going on around us, and also that, you know, mandatory doesn't mean law, and not to be scared and not to be full of fear. I kind of was just trying to make, you know, people just be aware if they weren't. And I was getting censored. I was getting 30 bans on Facebook because of the information I was sharing. And I had friends that were telling me, you need to go on, and when you do your posts, you need to do code words, and you need to mess with the algorithm. And I said, well, I have no idea about this. I've just been typing up my text, sharing the content. And they said, no, you have to mess with it, otherwise you'll keep getting banned. So that's where I learned about the algorithm. And that's why I thought, okay. And when it was explained to me, like what you just said, how when you click on my page and you see my post, it then brings further positive posts. That's how I want to that's why I want to post things that I enjoy and things that I can relate to, and the people to see. So I want to information.
Now, can I just say, everybody, first of all, if you, on those watching this, do make sure you follow Betty here on Twitter. And you see that story there that you put up, the one about the dog. Oh God, that really moved. It's such a lovely story. Everybody, if you do nothing else to hear from me, do go and read that. It's a brilliant post. I don't know where you found it, but it was I mean that lift. I find that uplifting and touching in equal measure, and far better than getting into all the crap that I see spewed across the rest of social media.
And I also think as well, which I think we lose with all of the scrolling and the doom and gloom, it does have an effect on our. I've found it myself. Like I said, I've gone on scrolling and I've come away thinking, oh God, the world is crazy. The world is mad. The world is sick. I can't believe humans treat each other the way they do. I can't believe these atrocities are going on in other countries, and I can come away feeling really sort of sad about the fact that I'm living in these times. And so I like to just kind of, like I say, throw that in, because when I see that, it makes me feel better. And we can't, it's very easy to go on and feel negative and see so much negativity and hate, and to kind of have our minds conditioned to believe that that is all there is, that is all the world is, that's all social media is. But actually it's not. As human beings, we need hope, and we need to believe that there is good in the world, and share these little stories to show that there is humanity, there is goodness, and there are good human beings in the world.
Do you think people behave differently on social media than they do, if you meet somebody in the street or social circumstances? Do you think there's a difference in behavioral sort of methods?
I do think, I mean, like, especially with people that troll, yes, I do. I think they, you get the keyboard warriors. They're very, very online. They're very full of hatred. And, I've seen some very, very vile comments on various political posts, personal posts, and friends and family posts. And I think, my God, how can they speak like that to somebody? Would they actually say that to their face in real life? And no, they wouldn't. They really wouldn't. So the answer to your question is, I think that there are a lot of public figures, I think, that stand by what they say, and when you meet them in real life and they're doing work out with the public in real life, yes, they are how they are on social media. But I also think you're always going to get people who wear masks and who portray themselves differently online. And I've met people who are in real life, compared to how they are online, they are not at all who they are.
Yeah.
And they're very manipulative, and they're very good at portraying themselves online as wanting to do good and being a great person, this, that, and the other. Whereas in real life, they're actually rather narcissistic, manipulative, abusive, God knows what, So I think that social media is it's an easy place for people to pretend and to put on, and also hide behind the keyboard, and if they saw you in real life, they wouldn't have the guts to come up to you and even say hello, probably, let alone the vile things that they comment on people's posts.
Oh yeah, I mean that's my experience I've been on this platform for far too many years, and the keyboard warriors would faint if they actually met you in the street. All these brave words, but here's a question I wanted to ask you. Like, as adults, we're all able to handle it in one way or in the other, but one of my great worries is young people, children. Because as you said, Betty, these electronic devices, they capture us from an early age, childhood, I think, at this point. And how do you feel about, like, kids having access to the world of social media, the world of the internet unfettered? Do you think that's good or bad, or what do you think?
My personal opinion on that is no. I don't think children should be exposed to it at an early age. I don't think they need it in their lives. I think it is a distraction majorly from them just going outside and being children, and focusing on whether it's their education or learning to ride a bike, whatever. I think that there's far better things kids can do than sit there and scroll on their phones and sort of be sofa zombies and just be stuck to their screens. I also think that there was a study done where I believe it said that it's as addictive for children and teenagers, smart devices or social media is as addictive as cocaine. It has the same effect. No, sorry, it has the same effect on the brain as
dopamine hit. Yeah.
And so when they then come away from it, or if they experience negativity and hatred on it, it has quite an effect, and the lower they then feel really low and depressed. So I think that following the studies that have been done, and also I wouldn't think it's really, they don't need it. They just don't need it, in my opinion. They don't need to be exposed to it. And I think there's actually, isn't there something going through Parliament to try and create an age limit of?
Yeah.
So I actually think that that's quite a sensible idea, because then when they get to that age, they decide as to whether they want to join and sign up to these apps. And I also think as well, we have to think about the element of safeguarding children. So there's a lot of predators online.
Yep.
They can be exposed to not just the negativity and the hatred and the trolling and online bullying. They can also be exposed to predators that will try and contact them, or expose them to, nude pictures or whatever else that they could,
Yeah. It's funny. I did a show some weeks back with a lady who was a survivor of sexual abuse when she was young. And we were chatting about this issue, and I found myself in exactly the same position you're in, whereas I'm a natural libertarian, live and let live and all of that. But when it comes to when she was saying to me, like, a 9 or 10-year-old, youngster, if they have that phone, that is a portal that predators can use to get them. So therefore, I actually would agree in this one. I think until a certain age, maybe 16, whatever it is, they shouldn't be allowed to go on a lot of this stuff. I don't know how you stop it, mind you, but I don't think it's healthy. Beth.
No, I don't think it's healthy. And I think, if you feel, if a parent feels that their kid is mature enough and emotionally intelligent enough to deal with, they might see. So say if they were 14, 15, because different boundaries in their household, everybody has different parenting, I think that, if they maybe set restrictions, so they only get a certain amount of time limit, in that way, if they're wanting to kind of allow some sort of leniency with regards to their teenage children having it, then just observe and make sure that you're checking what they're looking at, checking what they're exposed to, and also the amount of time they're on it daily, so they don't get addicted, and also that they probably just kind of, in actual fact, giving them that little bit of freedom, possibly when they're like the later end, nearer to 16, might actually work in your favor, because they might think, well, I've only got an hour a day social media on these various apps. I don't really want to bother wasting my phone limit time on social media.
Yeah. It's a real interesting one, because it is a conflict between libertarian instincts on the one hand and trying to be sensible as like a parent, say. And I agree. And I think, for once, I think the politicians are right when they talked about, well, the social media companies, they need to use better tools. I mean, you mentioned Facebook, and I normally don't put Facebook and YouTube are problematical for me, in the sense of, if you talk about anything, really anything, you're likely to get a strike. But having said that, they're very big platforms, and obviously, we know that they've got a user base running into billions. So therefore, they should, I think, have some sort of obligation to help the parent. Although I think the parent ultimately has to be responsible. What do you think about that? I mean, if you get kids, you're responsible, not the state.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it is the parent's responsibility to safeguard their child, of course, and also monitor. If they're going to allow their child to have a device and have access to all different apps, you go on. So you get on these devices, you can have parental restrictions, and where if your child it comes through to your phone and you have to give permission for that app to be downloaded. So there's various ways that it can be monitored. I don't want to say controlled, because I'm all for freedom, so I don't believe in being controlled, but when it children, we do need to guide them, we do need to safeguard them, because there are predators out there, and also we do live in a crazy world where, you know, we have things like child trafficking, you know, and things like that. So we have to make sure that our kids aren't going to the park and they think they're meeting a friend their age, when actually it's a 48-year-old man that's going to try and kidnap them. You know, it's
because the thing is, you know, you can be too innocent. I mean, I've always only ever been me on this platform. I don't use, you know, any sock puppet accounts. It's always me. But that's and you are you. But the reality is there are bad actors out there who do target specifically our kids. I mean, they're the people that are the problem, and that's why therefore the digital landscape is. It's a tricky enough one, you know, and because these devices are so ubiquitous. I mean, I've got grandkids who are like 3 and 2, right? But they roughly know how to press buttons on their iPads or whatever to bring up cartoons. Which is one thing, but you know, but that's a generation that we have. Like, you know, the youngest kids are totally digital. I mean, I look like an old fuddy-duddy when I'm compared to the 3-year-old, as my producer can confirm.
They do things, don't they?
Yeah, well, it's just what they know. It's what they know. And look, again, to put it in context, it's not that it's all bad, because it's not all bad. There's lots of good things.
I post to kind of remind people that the world isn't all bad, and that it's not all bad, and that we can use it for good. We can use it for good, and we should use it for good, and not just for the negative. And you know, to be I find, for me as well, I find it I can scroll and I can read certain things that I find informative, or that I maybe don't know about politically and I want to learn more about, and I find that when I go onto it, click onto it, I see so much divisiveness. I find that is exactly what the powers that be want. They want so therefore I try to be a little bit more like, remember humanity. We're all in this together, you know, and I think that you need balance. You need balance in life. So if we have so much negativity, we need positivity. And going to just quickly going back to the children being exposed, I often ask my friends, whenever they talk about introducing a device to their children, I say to them, can I ask you a question? Can I ask, would you take your child to a park or, you know, a public place, and leave them to just go and wander and speak to whoever, speak to anybody? And they say, well, of course not. And I say, well, all you're doing is you're doing that by letting them go onto these sites just on a device. Talk to anybody. And a few of my friends that I've said that to have actually said, I never thought of it like that. I never actually thought of it like that. And that's kind of, I think if it's a 16-year-old and you go to the park with them, you can kind of go to the toilet or go and get an ice cream and leave them to their own devices, because you know they know right from wrong. Anybody, they know not to just disappear or what have you. But if it's a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, a 12-year-old, they're not so streetwise. They're not necessarily going to, you know. So
But I also think, even when it comes to adults, you know, like us, I think that scrolling. I mean, what I've learned over the years is basically that I say what I do is, Betty, I say what I want to say and kind of leave it like that. Getting involved in sort of, you know, Twitter, X rows and stuff. And I know we can all be guilty of this, but I've learned sort of over the years that the best thing to do is, if you don't agree with me, I'm not going to probably change your mind. So that's fine. You know, some people will. And so I have stepped back from basically saying I'm totally right and you're, you know, and you are, and because half the people there, they're just taunting you. They're just trying to get you, you know, feel bad. I mean, I swear to God, if it like the sky above me, as you can see, it's lovely and blue here. Oh, it's so blue in Belfast. But honestly, if I said, look, it's a lovely blue sky, someone on Twitter is going to say, no, it's not. No, yeah, they do that. and swear to God, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them will dispute the very evidence, Princess of Wales took that photo, it's been doctored. So I mean, I just find that it's not actually healthy to get. I can answer decent people, that's not a problem, but by and large, if it's bad people, I just stay away from them. I don't know what you I mean, do you what's your experience there?
I try, and whenever I get, like, if I've had some vile comments and sort of hatred to me, and some I've just thought, you know what, I'm not even going to waste my energy and respond to you. I've got better things to do with my time. But in some, like yourself, probably I'm guilty of, I have responded to, because I've thought, no, I need to stand up and stand up for myself, or just not even correct them, but come back actually with I don't ever go back to them at the level that they've come to me. I always try and go back and kind of be the bigger person and try and say, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. This is what happened. I was there. But thank you for your comment. It really commenting if it's unnecessary what you've said, but have a good evening. And they don't like that. They then don't like that they hit
that. They hit that
back. And because I've come back and I've been fairly decent and fair, and I don't know these people. And like you said, like earlier on, they probably wouldn't even speak to me in real life. They probably wouldn't even dare come up to me and have a conversation with me. And I also learned during the pandemic on Facebook that, like you said, there's no point in actually trying to prove whether you're correct or not. A lot of I was posting, I wasn't posting to say to people, you're silly, you need to listen to me. I was posting to make people aware. It was pure awareness. But I found that I would get so many people comment and say, you don't know what you're talking about, or, COVID is really bad, or, just all sorts of things. You're a conspiracy theorist. I mean, that's their favorite one, isn't it?
Yeah, they love that. Yeah. Well, I am, so that's okay. I'm happy.
Proud to have been called one. I am. Yeah. I think pretty much most of the conspiracy theories have actually
right. Yeah. Substitute, early learner with conspiracy theory, and it all works. But I'll tell you, the other thing I found is, you see, if you use a bit of humor in how you do it works so much better. And if for nothing else, I feel good if I can say something that I think might be witty and leave it like that, then I'll get a laugh at that. And it does enrage them, though. It annoys them.
Two things that I am a very sarcastic person, and I the two things I learn and I've always tried to keep throughout life is common sense and a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I would have gone insane if I didn't have either of those. So that's another thing that I try and portray through or convey in my posts. A sense of humor. I do share the odd funny meme, I just like it. I like sense of humor, and we need that, especially on social media. Like I said, with a lot of the doom and gloom, I think when I see something really funny and I laugh out loud, I'm like, I save it to my phone, I send it to all of my friends or all the WhatsApp groups that I'm on, because it's made me laugh out loud. I'm like, I have to share the laughter, I have to share because it's something that I think we don't really do enough of. We don't laugh enough, I don't think, especially if we're scrolling and it's so much doom and gloom. Why I mess with the algorithm, because when I post what I post, I then get a lot of funny stuff, sensitive stuff, and I love it, because it just and it does immediately. When you smile and you laugh, it changes your whole mindset.
Oh, it does. It's honestly, it's healthy. I actually think it physically makes you healthier and mentally improves your well-being. Just in the same way, if you go down the doom and gloom stuff, you just get more and more like angry, depressed. You're thinking the world's awful. But as you said earlier, it's not. The world's a great place. Yes, there's bad stuff in it, but there's loads of good stuff in it. It's just that the algorithm will feed you what you go after. And that's the thing I think we have to be savvy about.
Yeah, and that's why when I learned that during the pandemic, I was like, right, I'm gonna control what I post better, and I want it to be how me as a person, it's my profile. So
Yeah.
and like I said, I didn't know if people would like the posts, or that, you know, I thought actually that some people would find it weird and think, God, you're weird, you're very strange, like sharing 1 second you're sharing something about how ULEZ is wrong, and then the next minute you're sharing this man in the sea with his dog, and it's like,
Yeah,
well,
but
it's balance, right?
that's the essence of life. I mean, that's exactly what life's about. It's a big, complex stuff, and it's not all bad. I mean, I'm very eclectic in my own particular way, and so I'm as likely to do anything that if I think. I hate to try and push stuff that's just relentlessly negative. I don't. But
Yeah.
having said that, I am guilty from time to time of doing stuff. The other thing is the speed it all operates at, Betty. You know, like it's just so fast. You can, you know, in the space of 30 minutes, I could put out about a dozen tweets if I wanted. If I wanted,
Exactly.
and you
Right.
know, yeah, and you can't edit job. But I mean, the digital space is one thing, and as I say, you've created a really nice digital space, and I hope everyone follows you because I think it's good for them actually, as much as you know, being helpful to you. But there is unfortunately the real world as well. Now, I think it's fair to say that you live in London, and London is difficult. Very difficult, as you know, because we met up a couple of weeks back. London is. I don't even know how to describe it, but what I do know is that you were at at a march or an event in London on Saturday. One of these seemingly endless um, Gaza demonstrations and whatnot. And I did follow what was being put out by yourself and by Lawrence. And, you know, yeah, I mean, what was it like? What was it like to be there?
Oh, well, we'd actually gone out for lunch along the river, and as we were walking, um, obviously onto the bridge,
Yeah.
the march coming onto the bridge, and you know, it's really good to actually see things for yourself, really important, so that you get the vibe of fear, you understand what's going on, see how the police are coping and also treating people. And yeah, it was interesting. The atmosphere was, I mean, it was, there were a lot of people there that were there wanting and promoting for a ceasefire.
Yeah.
There were some really lovely ladies that had this really lovely, my favorite placard actually, that you know, basically was just saying, we're here for love, we choose love, you know,
Yeah.
choose love and humanity. But it did get very heated. It very heated between some of the members of the protest and the police force. And that was actually, it was very fast paced, and it was very aggressive. Like the atmosphere became very aggressive and very hateful very quickly. So that it was interesting to see, because I find you can get a lot of things spread online, and I always think, okay, they're wanting me to hate these particular people, or they're wanting me to
Yeah.
hate policy, or they're wanting me to believe this, but when you actually, that's why it is important, like I said, to go to these things and see for yourself. So I actually could see, and I had it directed at myself. You know, I had somebody was verbally abusive and rude.
Yeah.
Didn't, to be honest, it didn't really bother me, because I kind of could see it was building up. And you know, Laurence had it as well. Laurence had people come up to him,
Yeah.
say various things to him, and you know, they're free to say what they want, the same as we're free to say what we want. But
Yeah.
is it
Yeah.
really necessary? Is it really worthwhile? You know, like projecting hate onto somebody, or being rude and abusive to someone? No, I don't. That's not really my way of dealing with things. But you know, that's their way, and it was actually it was eye opening to see the amount of people that were there. There were people that attended. Also, it was eye-opening to see how many people were in support of terrorism, terrorist organizations. And that also, that I found it quite hypocritical as well. That's one of the things I said to Laurence, was the hypocrisy, because there were people that were chanting, you know, that they wanted ceasefire and they wanted peace, and, you know, think of these people, but then in the next breath they were chanting for destruction and death for a different country or another place. To get my head around, how can you walk saying you want, you're really promoting like a ceasefire in this place, but yet in the next breath you're promoting death and destruction somewhere else? And so the hypocrisy for me, I just thought, well, you're not selling it to me.
Well, I mean, of all the things that we've had in the last, I mean, over the last 4 years, let's face it, we've had a lot of stuff thrown at us. We've had the whole COVID business, the whole COVID shenanigans. Then we've had the Ukraine-Russia shenanigans. And then this one came along, the Israel-Gaza situation. And in all of these situations, I'm very radical on the whole COVID thing. I don't believe COVID was the thing. But regarding Ukraine, Russia, I felt, well, look, this is a territorial dispute out there. We shouldn't be getting involved. And I didn't like NATO and their provocations of Putin, although I'm not a fan of Putin either. But all of that pales into insignificance from October 7th. And London, back to London. London now has these massive displays, and I see so much division, Betty, on here on social media from people who stood alongside the likes of maybe us over COVID and Ukraine, but now they are very much down the, you know, pro-Gaza, from the river to the sea rabbit hole. And I wonder, like, it's very hard for me to understand how they've fallen into that hole without recognizing that, just like in Ukraine, Ukrainian life's worth the same as a Russian life, no less, no more. A Palestinian life the same as an Israeli life. And as coming from a country as I do, which suffered, and I lived through 40 years of terrorism, you know, so I know a wee bit how it works. I don't see how people can be blind to terrorism, but they are, aren't they? Some of them are, not all of them.
I also think I think it just depends as well. I think a lot of people tend to follow a narrative. A lot of people might not actually fully understand the situation, or have looked at both sides, or have looked and understand it properly politically. So they kind of feel like they have to possibly pick a side, or they maybe what the majority are saying, and again they follow the crowd, follow the narrative. I don't profess to know so much about the politics behind Israel and Palestine. I don't. But one thing I do know is that I don't agree with killing innocent people, either side.
On either side,
that's my opinion on it. I also find when these things happen, the media plays a huge part in trying to condition and make people pick sides, and how they will condemn people for saying certain things, or for speaking up for one side and not speaking up for the other. So I think they play a massive part on people's views on it, and that's why sometimes when I see a lot of this stuff, I don't actually get involved. I step back. I try and understand. I try and find out the situation. I try and educate myself on it, because sometimes I'm like, I don't understand what this is all about. I genuinely, and so therefore I'm not going to pick a side, because I find that divisive. It's all divisive.
I agree. Completely agree.
My stance on it is innocent human beings, every life matters, all life, and therefore war is wrong, full stop.
Agreed. Amen. Exactly my own view. That's the point. I refuse to pick a side.
Yeah, and I refuse to go along with something that I'm not fully aware of. So going back to your initial question with regards to people that were probably aligned with our with our stance with regards to COVID, now completely like shocking people with picking. I think that again, some of them feel like probably uncomfortable if they say the wrong thing, or maybe possibly it doesn't benefit them to say their true opinion, because they may lose their job, or they don't look virtuous, or whatever it is. I think there's always so many elements to people picking sides or saying one thing but actually believing another.
Although having said that, I mean, I've seen all the Palestinian marches in London. Haven't seen too many, pro-Israel marches.
Yeah.
If I was a Jewish person living in London, I would feel kind of uncomfortable. Which brings us to Mayor Khan, one of your favorites. I know you're a big fan of Sadiq Khan. He's a great, hell of a guy. And what is he turning London into, Betty? What is London becoming? Because it to me, it looks kind of horrific. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like London. It doesn't. And just to confirm, I actually live just outside London, but I'm in London a lot, but feel like London. And it's such a shame, because I look back on how London used to be, and it seems like a really far away place. It seems like it's just changed so much, like the crime, the stabbings, the ULEZ, like it just feels like it's slowly deteriorating.
I mean, I almost see London now as separate to the rest of the UK. It's like,
place, isn't it?
Place apart. I mean, I've got to say, when I was over there the other week, I was happy to. I left on the Saturday after our event, and I was, in the past, I would have loved to have hung around for maybe a day or two. I've lost that kind of love of London. I think it was Dr. Johnson that said, when a man is tired of London, he's tired of life. Well, I would dare to dispute that with him. I think you can be tired of London, or certainly what it's becoming. Let's put it like this way.
Sadiq, it is a shame, because like when I get in taxis in London, I love a black cab.
Great.
Such lovely taxi drivers, and they'll start chit-chatting as they do, and they all mention how Sadiq has ruined London. And these guys have been driving around London, the streets of London, some of them for like 20, 30, 40 years. And so they have been there, they have seen change, and they have seen how the feel. And for me, it's the atmosphere. It doesn't feel like London. It doesn't. Like, to go there 20 years ago when I was working in London, and it felt different.
Yeah, I agree. But I also agree with you regarding black taxi drivers. They are London black taxi drivers. They're the best.
They are. And they're actually really educational, because they will talk politics. They will talk, and they will talk, they are London. For me, they are London. So when in and they're chatting away and they're telling me how they grew up in the East End, and they've been driving around, and they tell me some stories, and I think they're really salt of the earth, wholesome people.
I completely agree, and as you say, they've lived through all especially over the changes of the last maybe 6 years or whatever, since Khan got in anyway. And of course, what worries me, Betty, is the polls suggest that he's getting back in because the demography is changing, and unless the polls are way out, he could be back in for another 4 years. And I then think, so what's London going to look like in 2028 or whatever? I mean, do you worry about that?
I do, yeah, because I think that we've all had a taste of what he's done already, and it's a sour taste in my mouth, that's for sure. I'm against policies and a lot of the things that he's done and implemented, and also the stabbings. That's a massive youngsters that are dying on the streets of London day in. Something has got to be done about it. What about it? Then, and he doesn't fill me with hope. I don't believe what he says as well. And I also find him actually a very divisive character.
That's it. Yep.
So for me, I just feel like what he's done to London is he's caused a huge divide. He's caused huge costs to those that live in London and to those that travel into London, and that his policies don't work.
Well, I mean, one of the most egregious policies that he's levered in has been the ULEZ.
It has, yes.
And I know that you get very upset because you do post about it reasonably frequently about how the terrible consequences of climate change and other issues is affecting the ULEZ cameras, which seem to fall over. And I mean, here's a very sad example of that, and it breaks my heart to see it. But I mean, if you're trying to drive around London, I mean, for God's sake, what's it becoming, Betty? When you know, cameras everywhere.
Right. And I feel like that when I'm driving in London and when I drive out of London, I'm like camera, 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 and I don't like it.
No.
Every single, like, there isn't, and don't get me wrong, I know that CCTV has its advantages with regards to helping with crime and, you know, solving rapes and murders and things like that. But I do feel like, how much more surveillance do we need? How much more do we have to pay? We pay enough taxes. We pay enough for our cars. We pay enough for the fuel. Why do we have to then get charged for moving around London?
Well, I was talking, yeah.
It's more, for me, it's like more restrictions, more control. You know, we'll hurt your pocket, we'll hurt you in your pocket, and we'll try and, you know, ruin you financially for you to go to work every day.
Yeah.
And I applaud those who actually are doing something about it and trying to stop the surveillance state. And, you know,
yeah, well, it is a surveillance state. That's right. But it's also about getting people out of their cars so that, you know, you lose that freedom. And actually, what makes I find very ironic, I mean, get them down onto the underground, where if you want toxicity, that's the place to go. And he never talks about that. He never explains.
We clear air down there, Sadiq. Then we'll wear the air outside. You know.
Yeah, I know. It's absolutely surreal. What go, you know, the whole. Although I do like some of the protest things are very good. That I say, yeah, that's good. But you know, I was chatting to somebody who was telling me the other week that you know, since they've introduced also the 20 mile per hour area, that's increasing the amount of actual like pollution, because the vehicles are taking longer to get from A to B and giving out more pollution.
It's ridiculous. The traffic in London is absolutely ridiculous. It frustrates me a lot, the 20 mile signs, and it makes me laugh when I see the signs, because they say 20 miles per hour, making London safer. It's really not. And you're stuck in traffic for ages reading these patronizing signs, and it's like, okay. So I'm not a huge fan of Sadiq, and I'm definitely not a fan of the 20 mile per hour. And you're sitting in traffic and your exhaust pipe is chugging out all fumes, extra fumes that wouldn't be there if we were going a little bit, maybe 10 miles an hour faster. You know, the traffic would be clearer.
Yeah, that's common sense. That's exactly common sense. And forcing people down onto the dirtier air of the underground is makes no sense. But if you're trying to bring in a complete control state, or within the limits of London, what he's doing is exactly how you go about doing that. I mean, I think that's the game that's in play here. He wants to be completely controlled.
He also did the studies, didn't he? Or it was found that the scientific studies that he did regarding the clean air were actually false.
Yeah.
Why would we listen to somebody who is clearly, you know, the studies are fraudulent? Why would we listen to those?
But do you think there's a chance, though, that he can be unseated, or do you think?
I do. I always like to believe. I'm always a hopeful person, and I will always believe that somebody else will prevail, and that hopefully people will have common sense and realise, you know what, this hasn't worked. He hasn't made this a better place. So let's give somebody else a chance that has better abilities to come in and and make positive changes. So I'm hopeful that somebody else will prevail, and fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, like as you said, under Can, London's become more dangerous than ever as well. All the crime stats, if they were open and honest about them, would show that he's done the opposite of what he claims to have done.
Yeah.
So what then puzzles me is if you consider, for example, that the majority of the people at the receiving end of serious crime are typically young black men, and also that crime is typically carried out by young black men, which is unfortunate. You would have thought that then, well, it would be in everybody's interest if Sadiq Khan was kicked out and a better approach to law and order was taken, but it mystifies me that.
Yeah, it mystifies me too. I think that I agree with what you're saying. I think that it could possibly save some lives if somebody else. And not only is it more dangerous, I find it's also more divisive. He's made it more dangerous and more divisive as a whole. He has. And I think that for somebody who is in his position, we need people who are bringing people together.
Yes.
Wanting to lower crime rates, who are wanting to make it safer neighborhoods, safer streets, somebody who wants to, it is for the public and isn't for monetary benefit. His scientific study was fake. He paid for it.
Yeah.
So benefit him and his policy. We don't need people like that in power. We need honest people with integrity and people who are actually wanting to better the lives of society.
And you don't achieve that by dividing people. But there again, divide and conquer is what they do. I hate the way he plays, the ethnic card. He plays the religious card. And instead of trying to make London a place where we all come together and everyone, those things shouldn't even matter. Instead, he does the exact opposite. He's constantly, I think, trying to turn Muslims against Christians and, Pakistanis against Christians, whatever. It's all wrong. It's grotesque.
Why can't they all just live there in safe neighborhoods and live in harmony? They don't want harmony. They don't want having communities, because we're stronger together. We're stronger as a community, and we are social beings as human beings. We need each other. We do.
Yeah.
But if they can isolate us and if they can divide us, it's the oldest trick in the book of how to conquer.
It is. And I think one of the things during the lockdown thing where we were physically, well, they tried to keep some of us apart. Didn't succeed, I can tell you. But they tried it. And I think they love that. They love the idea of keeping us away from each other. We are, and this is the thing, Betty. We are, all of us, that's why I do the live things that, you're at. I think there's a power in humanity coming into the same space. And that was denied us in 2020, 2021. And they loved that. But I think our strongest weapon is our common humanity. That's the big thing for me. And that's best achieved if we can come together and not be divided by these tin pot little, in his case, very little tyrants.
That's it. And so we have to, that's why, going back to the start of this live show, when about my post, that's why we have to be reminded of the positives in this world and also humanity, and that what really matters in life is being together and caring for and keeping society good. The goodness, and we all have goodness in us. We all do. Yeah, there's quite a few corrupt tyrants and crazy people out there, but the majority of humanity is good.
It is good. And I think that's actually a nice note to wrap up on, because it's, again, as you said, it's in line with what we've been chatting about. It is trying to emphasize the positive, the good, and the unity we can have together as human beings, and not let them divide us and have us at each other's throats. That's what we have to fight against. And I have to say, your account is one of the best ones. And as I say, I encourage everyone to make sure you follow California Frizz there, and it's just for your own basically mental health. You should be getting some sort of grant actually, for helping people. But it is important because it's so easy to focus on all the rubbish stuff and lose track of the things that are important. I suspect we're in our deathbed, we'll not be thinking, oh, I did a really good Sarky tweet back 20 years ago. No one can do that. No, it's all about the good stuff. Look, we're going to wrap things up, folks. I seem to be having problems we're having trouble streaming to Facebook, are we? I wonder why that is. Anyway.
Here, sorry.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'll blame you for that one there. That's your fault because Facebook, Zuckerberg got the memo. All right, she's on. Boom, boom, boom. So look, absolute pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much for taking up your time and giving us an hour of it. I do appreciate that. And thanks everybody across the different platforms, too many to mention, for being with us this evening. And from Betty and myself, I wish you all a very good night, and I shall return, of course, later in the week. But that's it from us for tonight. Good night.
Good night.